Hello and welcome to this video presentation. Today, I'll be talking about a few tornadoes that have hit our state of Michigan, and kind of breaking them down into why they occurred and what happened after the fact. So, let's begin. Starting with the elephant in the room, the Flint Beecher F5 tornado. Back in 1953, all was well in the state of Michigan, nothing out of the ordinary. However, the National Weather Service knew something was about to go wrong, so they issued a severe weather bulletin. Of course, not many people were that weather aware 70 years ago. The CAPE, or Convective Available Potential Energy, was reading between 2,000 and 3,000. A severe thunderstorm can thrive off of 1,000 CAPE, let alone 2,000 to 3,000. And so, the conditions were set, and Flint was going to be the main show. Residents reported a green-yellowish sky and thunderstorms. Then finally, in the late afternoon, a tornado touched down in the intersection of Webster and Coldwater roads. This tornado then continued east. The residents had no advance warning, except for the tornado itself. Witnesses recall that they heard a deafening roar and saw the black funnel before running into the shelters. They compared it to black smoke with small vortices, and also saw fireballs in the airborne debris. It moved through the densely populated suburbs of Beecher and caused extensive damage to the town. Entire structures were deformed, mangled, or completely destroyed. People who were caught in the local drive-in theater started to panic, and some of them crashed while attempting to evacuate while others drove into the crosshairs. Eventually, it died out, but a new F4 tornado had formed in place of the F5, which caused more damage and casualties in rural farmland areas all the way to Lake Huron. The damages and casualties brought about by this tornado were immense. The tornado did $19 million in damages, which is about $221.2 million in today's money. 116 people had lost their lives, and 844 were injured. This ranks 35th in the world of deadly tornadoes and 10th in the US, right behind the 1899 New Richmond tornado with 117, and just ahead of the 1953 Waco tornado with 114. 8 hospitals were taking in the tornado victims, including 3 in Saginaw. Until Joplin in 2011, this was the last tornado to kill over 100 people, and took the community many months to recover. But thanks to the National Guard, Red Cross, and Flint community, this process was much easier, simpler, and faster. This was the second time since World War II that the National Guard had been called. Within 12 hours, all 684 National Guardsmen were called in. The Red Cross also came in to aid, most of whom didn't need to be alerted, and came into work right after the disaster had struck.
It's going.
There's
down.
another one starting.
No, it's not done though. This is all sorts of bad.
2021, already being an odd year from the beginning with 2 high risks, with only 2017 having more, Michigan finally experienced an EF2 plus in June of that year. The last time something like this had happened was the Vernon EF2 that happened in March of 2019. On June 26, 2021, the Storm Prediction Center had set out a slight risk for the state of Michigan, with a 5% risk for tornadoes, which doesn't seem like a lot, but trust me, 5% can still be deadly. That day, the National Weather Service in Detroit-Pontiac had released the sounding data from their weather balloons at 2 o'clock that afternoon, which showed how volatile and unstable the atmosphere was at the station. However, it probably was even more unstable in Port Austin. You're probably wondering why or how the sounding works. Well, I also have no idea. However, I do have limited knowledge about it. The red line over here means the temperature in the atmosphere, while the green line represents dew point. This dashed line is a given air parcel, which is the reason for CAPE. CAPE is represented as the area in between the red and dashed line. If the dotted line makes it most of the way up with no obstructions and is further away from the temperature line, then there's a good chance that the atmosphere is ready to unleash its fury upon the land. If the temp line sticks out and blocks the air parcel, the environment then becomes capped. This capping can either hinder storm development, break, or snuff out any chance of storms. This is a hodograph, which tells us about wind shear. It's kind of complicated, but if you do see a visible loop in it, there's a good chance a tornado might form. The other parts just tell you basic things like CAPE, precipitation type, hail parameter, and a lot more. Moving on, a tornado watch had been issued at 4 p.m. EDT, which had listed the chance for 2 or more tornadoes as a 50% probability and 20% chance for EF2 plus rated tornado. Then, at 5:49 p.m., a tornado formed just southwest of Port Austin. Which began moving towards the town of 662 residents, causing damage to trees and farm outbuildings as an EF0. It then moved into town, passing M53 and M25, causing EF2 damage. 3 houses had the roofs detached, 1 had the roof damaged, a garage destroyed, as well as a shed. 6 people were injured, but thankfully no deaths were reported. The tornado then tracked northeast into the local woods and eventually dissipated while over Lake Huron. Little did we know, just next year, an even more devastating tornado will hit our Great Lakes state.
Oh my god, Keith.
You're okay. It's not doing anything. It's going past us.
It was a warm day for Gaylord on May 20th, 2022. All seemed calm and quiet. However, there's danger lurking beneath that facade of a nice day, and the National Weather Service knew that. At 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a special weather balloon launch occurred to get data on the impending weather. This is the data they had received. I already taught you some stuff about these soundings, so this should be at least easier to understand. Here you can see the Cape is around 2,000 for this. Very much enough to feed into a strong, destructive storm. The photograph was also showing enough evidence for a stronger tornado. At 3:35 p.m., a tornado would touch down just north of Olds Road and east of Alba Highway, moving northeast. It would cause EF0 and EF1 damage to numerous trees and a few homes, until strengthening into an EF3 when hitting the town. A mobile home was obliterated by the tornado, and this unfortunately is where the only 2 deaths occurred. Several other homes, trees, sheds and garages, retail, culvers, and other businesses got anywhere from small pieces torn off to large gashes and almost even completely destroyed. It then moved out of town, doing minor damage to trees and homes, eventually lifting. 46 victims were affected physically from this tornado. Of those 46, 2 didn't make it out with their lives. Countless others were either affected emotionally, financially, or both. This has been a video essay on 3 tornadoes that have occurred in our great state. Some more significant than others, some older, some very recent. I hope you all enjoyed and have learned something about our tornadic past, and maybe you'll be interested enough to learn about our meteorological future.